Welcome back to Couch to Coders. In this module, we are going to start building our math function tool belt. Let's get started. So this module, originally I thought I was going to be able to fit module 11 and 12 together, but I had to separate it because I had a lot to say. So in this module, we're focusing specifically on our math functions that we can use in BigQuery. The first module that you're in right now is called Math-matize cabin. And in this, we're going to introduce what the difference is between the aggregate math that we've learned previously and the math that we're going to learn in this module. Module 2, this is a big kahuna. I really went into a lot of detail there, so I hope that you really enjoy that lesson. In that lesson, we're going to go over a bunch of different functions that you can use in BigQuery and not only just learn what the function does, but also think a little critically about it on what type of use case that we would use for it in a data analysis job. And then we're going to wrap up the lesson summarizing all of the different math functions that we have with what I'm going to call your mathy tool belt. And this is basically just a summary table and something that I hope you guys can continue to add as you're learning through your coding journey. And that'll take about 7 minutes. Let's not waste any more time and let's start this module. I'm going to make a distinction between aggregate math and what I'm going to call regular math, or just math. When we talk about aggregate math, this is something that requires a group by. You think of aggregate math, this is something that's going to go down a column within your data. What is the average ticket sales for all of my rows? What is the total amount of people that attended from all of the data that I have? Something where you have your column of data and we're doing something to summarize or roll it up. In comparison, regular math has no group by. And this is something that is going to describe the actual row or column itself. So when you think of regular math, we're thinking, what happens if I add my column A to my column B? And it just creates a new column with the sum of column A and column B. Let's do some compare and contrasting between aggregate math in more detail. When we talk about aggregate math, that's something that's applying math and it's going down the column. In comparison with just regular math, it applies math across columns. Aggregate will summarize your data. We're going to look at it at one level and then we're going to zoom out. So instead of having individual ticket sales, what were my total sales for all of my tickets? Regular math will just impact an individual column or row. What would happen if I increased the price of all of my ticket sales by 20%? That's something that goes for each row and it would apply an additional 20% for every single one of my ticket sales. When we talk about anything with aggregate, that's something with group by. And we know with group by, that means that we're going to be leveling up our data. We're going to go from something that's really zoomed in and we're going to zoom out. The data is going to be rolled up to a higher level. In comparison with regular math, this keeps our data at the same level. So we're not losing any level of detail when we're just doing our regular math. Aggregate functions always paired with a group by. It's also easier to make math mistakes when we're looking at something with a group by. You might think, why is that? Well, when you're going from one level of detail and you're zooming out, if you make a math error, it can be really hard to figure that out. Maybe I was supposed to average everything and instead I summed it. Well, I'm going to get a number for sum versus average, but I can't really test unless I had already summed up everything before and done like a manual calculation. So you have to be really careful when you're doing aggregate functions because it can mask any errors that you might have in your code. In comparison with regular math, since we're still keeping that same level of detail, we can just use our eyes and just spot check. Look at a row and see, okay, here's my ticket sale and I was supposed to increase it by 20%. So I have my original column and I have my new column. Is my new column 20% more than the original column? Something's pretty easy that you're able to spot check. You can use both math and our aggregate math in a single query. So maybe what I would want to say is, what would happen if I increased my ticket price by 20% for every ticket? And then I wanted to find out what my average ticket price would be. First, I would take my ticket sales and I would say, increase it by 20%. Now I have my new column. With this new column, I say, hey, let's find the average price, and then I could see what it would be. And the most important thing is that both of these are required for any meaningful data analysis. You can't get by only doing aggregate math work, and you can't get by only doing our regular math. This is something that you need to use both together to complete your analysis and provide meaningful insights. In this quick lesson, we learned the difference between our regular math and our aggregate math functions. And just to reiterate, math does analysis across the row versus aggregate, which does math down the column. I hope you found this video helpful. If you did, I would be so appreciative if you could like the video and subscribe to help me create more content for you. Thank you.